Welcome back to Elevation Perspective. My name is Mark. We had two MLB starting pitchers sign free agent contracts over the last 24 hours or so. Frankie Montas goes to the Mets, Matt Boyd goes to the Cubs. Let's break it down. First up here is Frankie Montas going to the Mets on a 2-year, $34 million deal with an opt-out after year one. I think this is a little bit surprising to me that Montas was able to command this amount of money plus an opt-out. In 2024, Frankie Montas started 30 games with a 4.84 ERA. I think the Mets see those 30 games started as one of the main selling points here. They're essentially buying innings as a back-end rotation option here in Frankie Montas, but he does have upside, so it's kind of intriguing on the surface, but at the same time, he had a 4.84 ERA. Frankie Montas spent his 2024 campaign split between two teams, the Reds and the Brewers. With the Reds, he had a 5.01 ERA. With the Brewers, it was 4.55. So a little bit better there, but not really substantially better. The big difference between the Reds and the Brewers, with the Reds, he had a 7.5 K per nine. Once he was traded over, he had an 11 K per nine. That is an elite number. This Frankie Montas contract is very eerily similar to the Luis Severino and Sean Manaea contracts of last winter. Of course, the Mets cashed out beautifully in those deals. I'm not sure if the Mets should bank on this every winter as a foolproof plan, but if he's there like back-end 5 rotation option, it's fine. For his career, Frankie Montas has a 4.09 ERA, so nothing spectacular there, but we've definitely seen stretches over the years, especially with his time in Oakland, where he has pitched like a number 1, number 2 pitcher. I don't think that's the pitcher the Mets are getting here, but it's a low-ish cost. I think $17 million was a little bit more than I expected, but a low enough cost back-end starting pitcher option with some upside. Just looking at Frankie Montas' Baseball Savant page, nothing really jumps off the page at you except for the fastball velocity. What I'm assuming here is the Mets, Jeremy Hefner and the Mets pitching brass has identified something in this pitcher that they think they could tweak to make him jump to that next level, like they did with Sean Manaea, like they did with Luis Severino. It's a win-win for Montas. Like I said, he had a 4.84 ERA last year. He was able to turn that into a 2-year deal worth $34 million. If he is great in year one, he'll opt out, go back on the market, and get a bigger deal. It's very hard to judge this move right now with the whole offseason ahead of us here. There's still so many dominoes that need to fall for the Mets. For right now, I'm going to grade this move a C+ for this Mets team. I think it's a fine move. It's not exciting. It's not spectacular, but you're getting a guy who at least last year started 30 games with a 4.8 ERA, which is not what you want. But if you bring that down to like a 4.5, 4.4 around there, league average or so, while eating innings as your 4 or your 5 starter, that's pretty solid. So right now, I'm going to give it a C+, but I think depending on what the Mets do, I think if they bring in 2 pitchers better than Montas into this rotation, that can jump up to a B. So right now it's a C+. Our second move to discuss here is Matt Boyd going to the Chicago Cubs on a 2-year, $29 million deal. In 2024, for the Cleveland Guardians, Matt Boyd started 8 games with a 2.72 ERA. He only threw 39 2/3 innings while striking out 46 batters. Boyd was great for the Guardians. I just worry here for the Cubs, a 39 2/3 sample. Is that really worth $29 million? Matt Boyd has had 2 Tommy John surgeries in his career, so the Cubs are really taking a risk. I know it's only 2 years, but you look at the grand scheme of things on a guy who has not pitched much over the years. For his career, he has a 4.85 ERA. You really begin to worry about, 1, the workload, 2, the production maintaining. I'm a little bit concerned here for the Cubs. I think my biggest problem with this move for the Cubs is right now looking at their depth chart, their number 1 and number 2 starters are Justin Steele and Shoto Imanaga. They're both left-handed pitchers. So you're bringing another lefty here in Matt Boyd to go along with Jamison Tyone, and the 5th pitcher might be another lefty in Jordan Wicks. So I'm a little bit concerned about that, is having such a lefty-heavy rotation. I think it's not really going to play up well for these pitchers. I think a big part of all 3 of those lefties games in Matt Boyd, Justin Steele, and Shoto Imanaga are deception. They're throwing a lot of sliders, a lot of junk at you. They don't throw high velocity. For that reason, if you have 3 guys that throw similarly and they're all lefties, I think that could be a problem. There have been reports out there that the Cubs are not really spending money this offseason. They're not in on Corbin Burns. They weren't in on Blake Snell. They're not in on Max Fried. If that is the case and these are the waters they have to shop in, I understand it. I still don't love it. A 2-year, $29 million deal for a pitcher who you don't really know exactly what you're getting or how many innings you are getting from him, I don't love. But if these are the moves they have to make, then I can understand a little bit more. I think they have to bring in 1 more legit right-handed pitcher for the starting rotation to make this move look a lot better. If you have those 3 lefties with Jamison Tyone, then a nice righty, a Jack Flaherty, someone of that ilk right in that rotation with them, things look a lot better. I am going to grade the Chicago Cubs a C- for this move. just because the situation with the Mets, I'm confident they're going to bring in more help. With the Cubs, with the reports that they're not going to spend money, I'm concerned that Matt Boyd might be the big move for this rotation. If that's the case, I think the Cubs are probably looking at another 500 year, not making the playoffs, and kind of just staying the mediocre franchise they currently are. We had a 2-for-1 this episode. We got some nice activity over the long Thanksgiving break. Hopefully everyone had a great holiday. Hopefully everyone's excited for the winter meetings coming up next week. I'm super excited. Hopefully everyone enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching.